So Emily, you're a new member of Kansas Authors Club, and I thought you might enjoy entering the Kansas Poetry Chapbook contest this year.
I am really interested, but first I need to know, what is a chapbook?
I'm glad you asked. For the purpose of this contest, a chapbook is a small publication of no more than 50 pages, not including the cover, and expected entries could fall into one of two categories. We have a published chapbook category, and we have a craft chapbook category.
What does it mean for a chapbook to be published?
So for publishing, we are thinking chapbooks that you would publish through a service such as KDP, which is Amazon, or Lightning Source, Ingram Spark, someplace that you would think of as print on demand. So this would be a book that was more traditionally bound. For instance, these pages are glued into the cover, and it would have probably a barcode on the back, so it would be available through bookstores. You could order it online. You could go to your independent bookstore probably and order it. So it's going to have a more traditional print press type publication. And the key for the contest is that it's going to be under 50 pages. So this would be for someone who's published a poetry book, but they don't qualify for the Nelson Poetry Contest, which is our big poetry contest, because their book isn't quite long enough, because the minimum for that contest is 50 pages. So this would be a good way to get your poetry book out there and get people's eyes on it, even if it's too small for that contest.
And is this something that you'd be able to do by yourself, or would you need to do that with a publisher?
People would go both ways. I mean, if you've already published with Amazon or with KDP, you know that the tools are all there to publish, and it's something you go to KDP and look at their how-to. It's a little more involved, and I probably wouldn't jump straight to this level if you don't already have some experience with it. You could also, use someone who, for assistance. You can certainly hire someone to help you publish if you're at that point. But you could also go to like a local printer, someone like Mennonite Press or POD Print, who just prints book. It wouldn't have to be necessarily through a print on demand that's online. It could be someone local. They would help you put together a book and print something like this as well.
Okay. And what is a chapbook or a craft chapbook?
Okay, so the other version, and we're accepting both into this contest because we'll give prizes in both the published chapbook category and in the craft chapbook category. But I'm going to show you some examples of craft chapbooks that I've just pulled from my stash. This is one that Kevin Ravis has done. He's one of our members, and he was Kansas Book Laureate. But you'll see that it's just paper. I mean, it's like paper you would run through a copy machine, and the cover is a little bit heavy, so it's cardstock and it's full. It's 8.5 by 11 that's stapled in the middle. And this particular one is, I think, 3 pages, 3 sheets of paper. And Kevin loves chapbooks. You can see I have a couple of his here. Kevin probably makes 1 or 2 a year. He often collaborates with artists, so he'll have art on the cover or throughout the inside of the book. And I've seen him use these as giveaways. I've seen him use them as, just have something inexpensive that he can take to his events, like for people who maybe can't buy the whole poetry book, but they just like a sample of the work when they see him present. There's lots of fun things. And you can also, it doesn't have to be just poetry. For our contest, it's a poetry chapbook, but I've seen people use chapbooks as just, samples of their work. So it's a fun way to share your work with people when you're not ready to actually publish, but this is a way to kind of say, look at what I'm doing, and here's a preview.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think there are any limitations as to how it should look?
No, I think your imagination is, that's the fun part about making chapbooks. A lot of these are just simple. Like here's another cardstock with the art on the cover, and it looks very traditional. There's the art again on the inside, and this is regular paper and poetry. Here's an example of one that's done with, this is Kerry Moyer. He's one of our members. And this is a color printer with a beautiful cover. Also, it looks very much like a book, has a lot of the elements of a book on the inside, including page numbers. But you could do a chapbook with, it could all be hand lettered if you have handwriting that could be read. I couldn't do that, but maybe you could. And again, you see the staples. You could do it in different shapes. I've seen chapbooks that are done instead of folded this way, they're up and down and folded, so they're long and skinny. You could, stitch them. You could give them cloth cover. You could really do anything you want. This is probably what I would think of as a traditional chapbook. Here's one more example. This is a poetry book by Diane Watto, who's a former Kansas Club member. She passed away. But this would be a classic chapbook full of poetry. And like hers doesn't have page numbers on it, but again, it has a lot of the traditional elements of a book. Very simple, stapled. And the back cover has her bio and information on it.
Well, that all sounds really exciting. Do you have any tips for the actual putting together of a chapbook?
Yeah, I was going to show you just briefly here. Anyone can make a chapbook. I don't want anyone to feel intimidated. And with this contest, as well as picking like the best one from each category, if we get enough entries, we'll do some special awards too, for maybe the best art or the most creative cover, or maybe just the best poetry, just depending on what strikes us. Mm-hmm. But it's real easy. So a traditional chapbook would be 32 pages, which would be 8 full sheets of paper, 8.5 by 11 paper. And so 8, you fold them in half. And then if you count front, back, you've got 32, right? 32 divided by 4 is 8. Right. So 8 sheets of paper would be a traditional chapbook. You don't want to go, so like if you don't have a big industrial stapler, you want to think about, and how much you can get to staple. But you can also go fewer. And for this example, I'm going to do 4 pages just for simplicity here. So I've got 4 sheets of 8.5 by 11 paper. I'm going to fold it in half so it looks like a little book. And then I'm going to go ahead and write what each page is. So this is the cover. And then I'm going to open it up and write, this is the inside cover. And this is page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. And then here onto the inside back cover. But you could put a poem on the inside back cover if you wanted to, or you could put your bio back there. And this is the back cover. Now, the reason I do this is because then you're going to start laying out your poetry. You can do this on a computer if you want, or you could, the simplest way would be to, just print your poems out, cut them and paste them into the document the way you want them. So you could like decorate the whole page if you wanted to. But the reason I write it like this is so that you can lay it out. You can get an idea of what you want on each page. If you want to do a poem and a picture, a poem and an illustration, or if you have a poem that's going to flow from one page to another, you can get it all laid out. And then when you take it apart again, you know which pages, if you're going to do this constructed on a computer, for instance, you'll see that like page 2 is across from page 7. And on the back side of that, page 8 is across from page 1. And so that gives you like your template, so you know how you're laying it out. So if you are making multiple copies, let's say you're going to make a limited edition, you're going to make 10 copies of Emily's chapbook. that gives you like your template for laying it out. Then when you use the photocopier, you know which pages go with which. When you're all done, you can assemble it, photocopy it, fold it, staple it, and you've got your book. You could also just make one. You don't have to make copies of it. You could literally put this book together with your 8 sheets of paper, hand letter it, just, you know, get out your watercolors or your markers or whatever you use. And this is a fun, people who like paper, you might want to go get fancy paper, scrapbook paper, heavy paper. If you do watercolor, maybe you could put your chapbook together with watercolor pages. There's really no end to what you could do.
Well, that all sounds so exciting. Thanks for sharing so much information.
Thank you. I hope to see your chapbook in the contest this year.